Hi there, welcome to the latest news and discussions within the Noah Presgrove case. We are looking at one of the Facebook posts today. Michael Facecaz has spoken out. Justin Roy shared his thoughts. I think it's people collecting together to talk about what's currently gone down online in certain pages, whether that be conflict or whatnot. But don't worry, we're not getting too heavy with that. This is going to be more of a hybrid experimental video where we take a look at some post comments, acknowledge them, and then I come on in with my thoughts direct and I'll show my face instead of it just being text comment after comment after comment, because it can get a bit tiring, I know. And I do want to add on with the beating theory, because there might have been certain actions or attempts made to push that idea because people truly believe in it, but it might have actually been detrimental within the case, or at least to the credibility of it. More about that later. Welcome to those that are currently here in this live premiere. If you are, feel free to make use of the live chat box located on the right hand side of the screen. Let me know your thoughts. And by the end of this video, drop a comment down below under this video to help spread that awareness. But also, if you do have questions, you can leave them there. You'll also find a pinned message by me too, with additional links if you do want to support this channel. And if you want to catch up on recent coverage by me, you've missed out on any videos, top right corner screen where the I symbol is, click up there, you'll get a drop down box with the full playlist. Now, with that all being said, we're going to start off with Facebook on the case discussion page. It seems to be most active recently. Read what's been mentioned, and then I'll add in with my thoughts. This was posted 11 hours ago by Michael Facecaz, and I don't know if this is a requote, but bold, highlighted, quoted, "Anyone else notice how some people just can't let go of a story they keep insisting is already solved? Here we all are, a community full of honest questions about Noah's death, and then there's that small group that sweeps in every time, doubling down on it being an accident or definitely no foul play involved." No foul play involved. Can you have a hit and run with no foul play? Is that even possible? Like, what's their deal? Did they sign up for a comment on every post loyalty program? Now, I'm all for open discussion, but come on, there are some real head scratchers here. Barely any blood at the scene. Multiple medical pros hinting it looked more like a group attack, like 5 guys. I don't even get me started on the videos that some folk keep saying doesn't tell us anything or don't exist at all. And yet these voices just keep popping up like it's their full-time job to insist there's nothing to see. And here's a fun twist. It's gotten so intense that some of these folks seem to be creating fake accounts just to cheer themselves on. Ever noticed how a brand new account appears out of nowhere, jumping in to agree? It's almost like they're trying to create an illusion of popularity for their version of events, hoping we'll just follow along. I mean, the only pattern I've noticed is people that do spring up out of nowhere, especially new accounts, and they seem to know a lot. And if they are new, how did they know so much in a short space of time? That makes you wonder. But, you know, at least when it comes to certain video footage, there's another way of looking at it. Bottom line, nobody keeps pushing the same story this hard unless they're trying to convince us or themselves that we should just look the other way. But for those of us sticking to the truth, we don't need to change our story to fit theirs. We'll keep asking questions no matter how many fake accounts they throw in the mix to steer us away. And guess what? We're not moving on. Now, I've got it adjusted to most relevant comments. Let's see if the quality and the filtering is better. First of all, key individual Justin Roy pops up. Exactly. They always talk about the 3.2 pints inside his body like he didn't bleed out somewhere. Yet where's the other 7 pints of blood? That body holds roughly 10 pints of blood. Just more deception and lies. Noah was staged on the highway and anyone with common sense could see that. Mika, not everyone believes what you're alluding to or the other side, and that's okay. What I don't understand is why does everyone have to gang up on someone for thinking differently? Well, I'm sure, Mika, you would have seen Kaden Pressy where people ganged up on him and partygoers, family members and adults saying, oh, he's wrong, he's getting it all wrong, he's making mistakes, and then even the likes of Kathy Bingham turning on Kaden Pressy, calling him out publicly. So there's that to acknowledge as well. It's not just people within the community outside of the case that may get ganged up on for just having a different opinion or outlook on the case. It's the odd one within the case that can get ganged up too. It's worth acknowledging. Aren't you doing the same by insisting that it's something else? Yeah, it's very apparent that the family and friends of the partygoers are trying to deflect the blame off of anyone that was present at the party that day. Who knows, some of these people may be the partygoers themselves. We know there are fake accounts and we can see right through them. They're not feeling us, trying to create confusion. Shout out to Beth Carr. I'm right there with you, it's repetitive and very annoying. I don't understand why they have to hide behind fake profiles. We all know that's not normal communication. I read through the comments a lot. Damn right, we're not moving. 2 more people stick to the construct over. Fake accounts become so obvious. And we'll just read a couple more comments. Joyce, you get a lot of people who come into the group acting like they know nothing, but bam, they come in full force. There have been accounts who come in and here and admit I've left and rejoined. Some were banned, but let back in. Some people are showing their true colours. I've seen it myself on YouTube as well. It happens. BS, trying to convince us to believe it's ridiculous and we're not stupid. In regards to being barely any blood at the scene, this could be in response to Justin Roy. This is explained by a highly trained professional. Right. Jodie Barth. I'll read it whilst we're here. There's no harm. Jodie Barth appeared on Partners in True Crime in the past. I didn't watch the video because I think it was like 2 hours long and I wasn't busy at the time. But let's just have a focus in on this because blood loss is quite a critical point within the case. Blood loss and where it's at can determine where Noah died at, possibly, and anywhere else where things may have taken place. Jodie says, it wasn't blood missing from his body. It was blood that was in the wrong places within his body, sometimes referred to as internal bleeding. According to the autopsy report, Noah had a right hemothorax of at least 700 millilitres, a left hemothorax of at least 500. A hemopericardium, it's all these fancy words, of at least 150 millilitres, and a hemoperitoneum at least 200 millilitres. Those total at least 1,550 millilitres, which converts to 52.78 FL, is that ounces, OZ, which is 3.29 pints. He also had a 20 millilitre subdural hematoma of clotted blood in his posterior cranial fossa. I'm not a doctor or an ME. When you mentioned some medical references, I'm retired from over 32 years in law enforcement after being a deputy coroner for a couple of years in Illinois. I was a CSI and latent print examiner for the Illinois Department of Law Enforcement. Right, dealing with crime scenes, 200 death investigations. I hope this helps. This does not mean that he didn't have more blood in body, which stops pumping when the heart stops. It just means that he had at least 3.9 pints of blood. And we move on to the next screenshot. Or maybe we don't, because it's not there. This must be out of order, in the wrong order. But there you go, a little bit of reference. Well, it says 18 warrants now, 9 warrants supposedly issued. What? To who, though? Total population of Terrell, Oklahoma, those 27 people all lived in the town. Aren't the individuals spread out, and especially more so now, some in Texas, moving out there? We're nearly done here. Supported by the autopsy and science, I have no reason to explain it. Oh, is this the other comment, maybe? Yes, feel free to do so. To my knowledge, with the information we have available, there is no way to determine the amount of blood loss from Noah's body, but the autopsy did not mention post-mortem wounds, which usually can be differentiated from wounds incurred during life, which is why I'm assuming that the majority of his injuries, if not all of them, were incurred at around the same time and shortly before at the time of the death, but that's just my opinion based on the autopsy report without being able to see the wounds or underlying damage. Impossible and probably foolish to make any solid conclusions. So even an expert is a little bit unsure. This is a continuation with the blood loss. It's basically just copy and pasted, actually, what we saw before. And that's pretty much it for that. Where do we begin with first? I think it's important that I highlight my point in addition to the beating situation. One thing that hasn't helped is attempts made to prove with evidence which turn out not to be exactly true. And no, I'm not discrediting the supposed video footage out there in the background which shows like a beating, a murder, or even post-death afterwards with all bits and bobs going on. I'm referring to references in the past. You remember when I've done previous videos, or a particular one, when we're looking at references to videos, video pieces, what people have seen previously from the shower footage and beyond, whether that be the highway? Well, I believe there was a reference made about a fight taking place at the party. Short story was, the video turned out to be of a different date or a different year, in a different location, a different party with different people. It wasn't relevant, it didn't link to Noah Presgrove whatsoever. Now, that's a problem. It got people's hopes up. It was publicly posted on some or one of the Facebook pages in the past, and people truly believed in it. You know, it's nighttime footage. You can't quite identify people's faces in the moment. You might think, oh wow, this must be at the party, because at a point in time you'd have more trust and faith in believing what comes about is true and all about the truth, but that's not always the case, is it? And as time goes on, you become more disappointed, you develop more trust issues, and that's what happens with a lot of cases and communities out there and just life in general. It can be messed up, but it is at times out of one's control. But you'd hope to believe in something being truthful in hopes that it can speed up, resolve the case, spread some kind of clarity on what's really going on. But it turned out to be a bit of a dead end. And normally when you get to that point, you think, well, where do you go now? And what do you believe in next? Surely the next time round, when maybe a genuine person comes along with actual hard evidence, or just at least a reference, a description of what they've seen, but they can't reveal it for legal reasons, you think the majority would be more reluctant now. And that's natural with time. Maybe it's like a reflection of how tense at times it can be within a community. Some people are emotionally connected to the case, others emotionally charged, and just gets a bit out of hand, out of control, a bit of erratic behaviour. I said, I'm just talking in general, basing it off from what I've witnessed, what I've seen, whether that be Facebook and a little bit of YouTube as well. But nevertheless, the party footage, not the footage which Noah attended in Oklahoma, September 4th, 2023, but a different party, different people. I remember references of it online, because I didn't see it at the time of when it was live, when it first came out. I was late to the party, no pun intended, which is probably a good thing in a way. So I saw the summary where people said, no, it was fake in the end. It didn't link, it was irrelevant. Right. My first question to that would be, who posted it in the first place? Who reshared it? More so the origins is the problem. Not the ones that reshare because they may genuinely believe in it. But who was the very first person to post that fake footage of a fight from a completely different time, location, and people involved? What was the aim behind that? I know Michael Faze, Kaz, Justin Roy and some of us can talk about what the aims of the dark forces out there right now, with their resistance, with their counterpoints, with them pushing an alternative agenda which may not be true. Let's dial that back and ask that same question but in a different scenario with a particular event from back then. Why did someone think it was a good idea to post online some fight video of a party which had nothing to do with the Noah Presgrove case? Did they do it because they were misinformed? Did they do it because they jumped the gun? They didn't think first and they rushed ahead? Or did they do it on purpose in an attempt to push a certain narrative which other people believe in, but for more natural reasons, but this one individual decided to do it for other reasons? Is there a possibility that there was a worm or a mole planted in the past in hopes, aims of discrediting the beating theory? Let's just say if it was true, and that's the end outcome for Noah, and dark forces are trying to cover that up with just pushing the hit and run, pushing it as much as they can, and others sending out threats. That can only work and go so far. If you can go behind enemy lines and you can inflict some kind of disease or poison, it can weaken and wear down the integrity of within that foundation, so it implodes on itself. Just like divide and conquer, where you've got a community in true crime more so, and others out there. Person comes in with a fake profile, more so an impersonation account of someone else, acts out in a negative way, and that makes everyone doubt that individual with the fake account who believes it's the real whoever that they're friends with. All that questioning, all that drama, big misunderstanding can go wrong very quickly. I've seen it extensively with previous cases that I've covered, and I'm sure you would have too. Fake accounts impersonation ones haven't been as strong here. I mean, there might have been some fake impersonation ones, but they were kind of obvious, like the JJ Bump Ass one, and maybe some others. But it could also be it's happened more so on Facebook rather than YouTube, so I've not seen as much. But so always worth keeping an eye out for that divide and conquer. So similar aims like that to weaken the opposition. The same could have been done for providing fake, reckless evidence to make people look stupid or naive. And then it plays down the focus of the beating theory and more of a laughingstock, more of a mockery. So the next time it's brought up or people push it, you can use the ammunition against them, weaponize it and say, yeah, but you lot, or some of you lot, tried pushing a fake fight video to suit your agenda. Doesn't make you look good. Yeah, you provided evidence, hard evidence, and it wasn't even true. It wasn't even relevant. Shame on you. You see how people can use it against you. Someone can come on over, get a hold of evidence, sounds like they're doing a good thing, justice for Noah, getting the answers, doing the research, but so recklessly and just grabbing anything off online. See, this might have been more of a misunderstanding, but during a time when Kaden Pressy was supposedly being threatened, questioned, attacked after his presence online, his statement, and partners in true crime interview for the very first time round, what ended up happening was people were defending Kaden on either the army page, I believe more so, and maybe others, saying how, oh, Kaden's under attack, he needs witness protection, he needs protection, we need to make sure he's safe because he's got over 300 death threats, and here's a TikTok page of a video in the dark saying, I'm going to burn your house down, and it's in reference to Kaden Pressy. What? Yeah, taking that all in mind on the spot. I'm looking closer at it. The date on the screenshot, photo, video, whatever, it said 2022 or 2014. Honestly, I can't remember, but it was definitely before 2023. It was outdated as hell. And it's like, how can you not see that? And was it directly referenced to Kaden Pressy? Maybe, maybe not. Even if it was, how relevant is it if it's so out of date? If it's 5, 6, 7 years old before the death of Noah, it's just not relevant. Oh, you could say, well, there might be some rough, dangerous people out there who may have an agenda against Kaden. Yeah. Well, who's the one that ended up getting hurt and died at the party though? Noah Presgrove. So it wasn't that bad for Kaden. I'm not diminishing or playing down what Kaden has gone through since, but when people try and defend someone and push that idea, the theme of an event, what's ongoing, such as threats, death threats, whilst it may be true, what Kaden has experienced, how he's been questioned, undermined, maybe gaslighted, as some push it, but you can kind of undo the genuinity of that. You can make it a bit of a mockery and weaken the structure of it, the integrity, and make it seem less believable through over-exaggerating stuff or using irrelevant material and evidence to back the point up. You can have undoing it. Whether that's done on purpose or not, I think in that case it might have been done without thinking, emotionally charged, not thinking on the spot, just acting with pure emotion, blinded by judgment, and things like that. So after that, it was the realization, oh, that threat, no, that's not quite true. Oh, that's outdated. Oh, so does that mean that Kaden Pressy isn't being threatened and you're just trying to push a false agenda then? You see how people can then start questioning it just because of a mistake made or recklessness? From the looks of it, yes, Kaden Pressy has been questioned a lot, and some key people have turned on him, whether that be the friends gone quiet on Kaden or vice versa. Because I remember Alicia Lee gave advice to Kaden saying she didn't really want Kaden to be around Jack Newton for certain reasons, which, fair enough. And maybe that had a knock-on effect. I think that's what Kaden was referencing, possibly, a knock-on effect with his other friends and other party goers. So I thought, well, if you're not talking to Jack, then you're not going to talk to us. Something like that. Domino effect. But still, in terms of referring back to the beating idea, the concept with Noah Presgrove, Whilst there might be factors to take in mind which can reinforce the outcome of a beating, the act of providing hard evidence in the past which turned out not to be true or relevant, it kind of tarnishes the overall theme and theory, doesn't it? When it comes to a hit and run, not enough evidence has been provided. Hardly, if not no hard evidence has been provided for a hit and run. No debris, positioning of the body, I guess, distance of it from where Noah was once at to where he was found at, kind of odd for a hit and run in a way, and the reasoning behind Noah himself why he would be there to take in consideration. And maybe some of the injuries, if I didn't mention it already, like with the lack of the leg injuries, no broken bones down there. You thought you would have got hit there first before the upper body. But yeah. So what you could word it as, and this is just being realistic, the fact that the official autopsy report stated cause of death unknown would imply that there is just not enough evidence, or at the time, there wasn't enough evidence, hard evidence, to actually reveal what the true cause of death was, unless there was opportunities to do so, but police or ME decided not to for certain reasons. That's why you always need to acknowledge any lost evidence along the way or right at the time, whether that be through delays, reluctancy, search warrants or not, digging deep enough or not. Maybe more could have been done. There could have been more proactive. Is there a direct reason to why they weren't? I mean, let's just say, same situation with Noah outcome, but a different party house and different home owners, other strangers, not as powerful people. Would there have been more direct action taken? Or at least if there wasn't any conflict of interest within certain roles of authority, maybe being linked to partygoers or family members of partygoers, if they're all strangers to one another, but Noah was still caught up within an unfortunate outcome, would there have been more proactiveness, a higher level of it? Makes you think. I mean, we don't have CCTV footage of police going down to the party house. We've been told by some that police did go down and check some vehicles. If so, did they do a deep enough check? And what about inside of the house? Did they notice any wet patches, any soil disturbance, any track marks, footprints, things like that? I wonder. But yeah, if you had CCTV footage, you could have seen who come, who left, relevant to the day of Noah's death and temporary disappearance. And then beyond that, if police came on down to search the house or the property surrounding the land, cameras could show whether they are on site or not. But we don't have that, publicly speaking, or not at all. So that's obviously a big disappointment. But yeah, just referring it back to this theme of what I'm getting at, lost evidence, wasted opportunities, if collected at the time and done more properly, it might have revealed more leads, might have been a little bit closer to an official understanding, because that's what matters most, isn't it? An official confirmation. It doesn't matter what the general public think. It needs to be the officials and the ones in power that have an idea, so then action can directly be taken, process and all that formally followed up on, and then a form of justice shortly afterwards. In the hands of the general public, they can only do so much. They still play a big role, big impact, keeping the case alive and maybe pushing for change, whether that be possibly the change.org petition, I think, which is more so to do with charging those, the party host, for breaking social hosting laws. The responsibility factor there will need to take into consideration. I'll mention that in just a second, okay? Social hosting laws, responsibility, taking it on the chin or brushing it aside, completely forgetting about it. Is that irresponsible? Is it done for a particular reason? Brushing responsibility off. I don't want that. No, I'm not part of that. Would that represent any attitude as in, such as the time of Noah's death? I don't want Noah here. I don't want blood on my hand or on my property or near my land. Get him away. Maybe. Just a little thing to take in mind. So, at the end of the day, missing evidence, missing possible evidence, possessions, bits of clothing, golf clubs, things like that. You know, if they weren't used, then they might as well have remained where they were originally. There was no need to move them on, really, is there? Or at least allow the family to get a hold of them, move them on, or do what they think that's needed with them, because you never know. So yeah, to refer back to the hit and run, quite a bit of talk online, pushing the concept of a hit and run. Oh, it's obvious it's that. It can't be anything else, you delusional. So, right, where's the hard evidence of a hit and run? Do you have hard evidence? Do you have photos? Do you have videos of it? Yes, no. Do we have tire marks all over the body? Or like a really clear indicator of something like that? I don't think so. So it's just a lot of talk and not enough direct action, if you get what I'm saying. But that could be considered better. What, providing no evidence and just talking? How can that be better than a beating or team beating where they've presented a form of hard evidence? One's made the effort to try and present it to prove it, and the others haven't done F all. That's the thing. Sometimes doing nothing is better than doing something. And in this case, doing something as in presenting false evidence, it tarnishes yourself, or at least tarnishes the theory, at least. So it becomes a bit of a mockery. People are less likely to trust it. It can have shock waves, it can have a chain effect within. Now, ever since, things may have reinforced. With those that have had access to true footage of a murder video, possibly relevant to Noah's death and those involved. But that's more of an exclusive inner circle experience, which the majority of the human race don't have access to. So that's what you got to always understand. Anybody that questions or disagrees with a beating, let's just say, those that are saying that and going against it because they don't see or they've not experienced any hard evidence to suggest it, they shouldn't be attacked or be seen as disruptive within the case. You should be allowed to maybe think outside of the box or not go along with it up until it's more convincing and there's an attempt been made to prove it outwards. It's just like if I said, Kenny Veach is alive. Well, I wouldn't quite word it like that. I'd say there is material to suggest he's alive. What good does that do if I don't provide any evidence? If anyone came up to me and said, you're wrong, proof, show proof, and I didn't, I can't get triggered. No, and I don't. There's been times where I can't show proof because YouTube on other channels will delete my comments, right? I'm in the same boat as everybody else. URL links get taken away immediately if it's not on your own channel. It's unfair, it's limiting. But yeah, when there's been moments where I've had the opportunity to share videos and I've said there is evidence, there's material to suggest Kenny Veach is alive, and then I show a screenshot of a missed call by Kenny Veach's Facebook profile, relevant to Kenny and his account. Yeah, maybe it was hacked. Maybe something else went on in the background. Yeah, you can still acknowledge that, but still, a closer, more relevant attempt of hard evidence, right? And the same with the CCTV footage break in 2018, Reiki Healing Store, Enchanted Forest, Las Vegas, store owner Debbie Veach, those that run classes, the brother Raymond Veach. Family-run store, isn't that convenient? Selling crystal skulls, and a crystal skull found in the mineshaft 2017 by Jeff Clark and noticed years later by him in his photos. Yeah, could link all together. That might seem deep and weird for some people. You can always look back at my channel and playlist. It's all documented there for reference. I just wanted to give you an example of that. If I state something, suggest I'm going to provide a hard evidence and it's more relevant to the said individual, more effort has been put in. It's not just done recklessly. Effort and time when looking at it, comparing, contrasting, analysing, much more. Hopefully that makes sense. Whereas in the Noah Presgrove case, like how we said, emotionally charged, jumping the gun. A person may find a form of material and without questioning it or checking the relevancy or the date, they might just put it out there immediately and it doesn't do much good. So others out there who believe it's a hit and run, but they hold back because they can't do that much, then, you know, you can say that's less tarnished than someone trying to prove it as evidence with the beating and it turned out to be false. But don't worry, we're going to get the balance in because certain said individuals who may believe it's a hit and run, and those within the case or connected to partygoers within the case, have pushed the concept to counter Kaden Pressy's timeline of around 5:27 a.m. in the morning, when Kaden Pressy was already at the highway with Brylan Sweat, Mikey Lair, Isaac Rojas. I think I mentioned all the names. But supposedly, one of the three guys, not Kaden Pressy, but the other three guys, one of which wasn't at the highway, was actually at the party house. And some made an attempt online. Even Brooke Bounds Carter, also known as Andrea, ended up posting a screenshot, and maybe it was reshared by others in between, depends, because it's not easy to find always. Some of this proof and evidence tends to be posted on the Sofa Sleuth page. And who does that consist of? Mostly those all on the same page as one another, and possibly seen as the partygoers or those connected to them. And they're trying to prevent counterpoints and counter-arguments with evidence of their own to dispel rumours and to go against Kaden Pressy and to say his timeline's wrong. What good does it do providing all that evidence on a private page which the majority of the general public don't have access or reach to? You're going to provide it, you're going to provide a counterpoint, make it public, make it accessible. It's that easy. But people don't seem to do that. So there's a breakdown in communication. There's a breakdown in one's mindset. What are you really doing it for if you're failing to get that reach? It's kind of failed, backfired. Nevertheless, I guess it was reposted, reshared in the end elsewhere on other pages, but an attempt made to go against Kaden Pressy and say, yep, your timeline's off, because at this time, the guy that you said was with you at the highway was actually at the party house still, sleeping or resting with girls around him. And here's a photo and proof of that. What was the photo of? A fucking overlay with the time on it, which can be manipulated and adjusted because of the settings on Snapchat, meaning it's not truly genuine, could have been altered with a level of skepticism. You see the pattern there. But what's worse, I did not see the photo of the guy with the girls around him, just a overlay with the timestamp covering the photo. What's the point of that? Well, I was going to give an example, to be honest. It's like if you had a massive tool and you said, my tool is 19 inches in length and width. Okay then, let's see it. Bring it on. Oh, and we've got like an overlay of the measurements, the circumference, the depth, the width, and all the other little details. Right. What about the photo? Where's the photo? Oh, nowhere to be seen. It's not relevant enough. It's not linked enough, right? You got a drill, you got a sledgehammer, you got a tool, you got a hammer, your toolkit, whatever you can fit on it. There's no point showing you the measurements if you're not going to show what it actually visually looks like, okay? It's a half-hearted attempt. And when it's half-hearted, does it represent the attitude and personality of that said individual? Maybe, right? Just like as it represents a said individual who may push some form of evidence which isn't relevant in a reckless way. Is it done because they're not thinking, acting on emotions, or are they doing it as like a plant, a worm, a mole to cause doubt and create a mockery and tarnish the concept of a beating, the cause of death, right? It can get messy. And I'm looking at it from both sides, different angles. It's not one-sided whatsoever. A range of people have done it intentionally or just accidentally, recklessly. But you're going to provide a Snapchat post, at least present all the angles and photos. It does help, I think, personally. So because of that, and the doubt as well with the altering with the timestamps within Snapchat, how you can change it, it's not strong enough to counter Kaden Pressy. So they kind of burnt themselves there, at least tarnishing the situation. And now, let's refer back to the responsibilities. How many people have come forwards and owned up and said, you know what, probably shouldn't have been drinking, or probably shouldn't have dished out alcohol because of the age ranges? I mean, I don't know if it's a direct response, so I'm not going to quote anybody, but you let me know in the comment section if you've seen it yourself. Roughly speaking, has there been any attitudes, responses from partygoers or those connected or family members which the line or quote goes along such as, well, yeah, we were having a party. We were having so much fun, including Noah. We had no clue what was going to happen next. We weren't anticipating that. We weren't aware that was going to happen. Everything was just fine. We were drinking, yeah. Okay, underage drinking and some distributing it out to younger individuals, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and whoever else, depending on the age ranges. But so what? We were having a good time, and so was Noah. It's got nothing to do with Noah's death. That's just separate, and that's later on anyway, because by then we were going to sleep, and some of us sobered up anyway, and we had a designated driver, so it's all fine. I said, I'm not quoting anyone, but if you've ever heard that, if it rings a bell, a line or something similar said by someone, it can kind of like highlight brushing off the responsibility, playing it down, self-manipulative minimization, external manipulative minimization. These are terms that I've created in the past. I said I was going to explain it in a past video. I never did. Naughty boy me. So external is where you play down the importance or significance of an event, someone, or an achievement. It's to bring them down, to minimize, to downplay it. For positive events and negative events. A negative event with a negative factor, the significance of that being responsible for the end outcome and playing it down. Nah, it wasn't that bad. You see it with rapist where they'll say, yeah, okay, physical contact made, they're still alive, they're still okay, it's not that bad, is it? Didn't do that bad, but it's what's in there and how it scars an individual and maybe elsewhere too. So yeah, you see it. So in the Dylan Brown's case with one of the Wadsworths, a 15-year-old that played it down, you know, that person came out to the police and the court months or a year later. It can't be that bad. It couldn't have impacted them that much if it took him that long to respond. You see how it goes. It's ignorant, but they're doing it to try and play it down to defend themselves and to minimize it. It's like a defensive trait. It's not the right thing to do, of course, but for them, they feel it may help them. Self-manipulative minimization is where you play down your own achievements normally. So other people will play it up, talk big about you, and then secretly in your head you're like, yeah, I know I did well. An example which I saw extensively in the past is when it came to results day, you know, after exams, high school, college, whatever. You go collect your results, you might hang about. You might hang out with friends and strangers, whatever. You open your results, you react positive or negative depending on how you think you've done, whether you've done well or not. Or maybe you have done well, but not quite to your standards. And that's where you start seeing it where people are like, oh, I got 99 out of 100. I'm such a failure. Oh, I got a B plus or an A. Oh, it's an absolute failure. Oh, you know, like that. Maybe to them it could be if they've got high standards, but it's just annoying to hear if you yourself have tried hard and maybe it still wasn't good enough and you got to stand there listening to them, right? You might have opened your results, not great, disappointed, and someone else does a lot better than you, and it can be relevant to the reactions to themselves and their performance and outlook, but still, having to hear it, and then you get the others up playing it saying, no, you got 99 out of 100. That's amazing. You've done really well. Or a person that says, oh, I look like a floppy fish, but clearly they know that they look good, but they just play themselves down because they know others around will say, no, you look really good and whatnot, and give all compliments. And then that person in their mind is subconsciously thinking, oh yeah, I know I'm good. I know I look good. Yes, keep it coming. Is manipulative. I've seen it in real life because people like to say, oh, online, no. In real life's more important. Yeah, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've observed it. Right? It was opening results or marks. I wouldn't be doing it around everyone. I'd do it by myself. So then I don't have to deal with all this shit afterwards and reactions from people, right? So you apply it in this case, it can definitely happen. Jack Newton, Brooke Bounds-Carter, just as examples. Jack Newton, yeah, the argument that I had with Noah, it wasn't that bad in the end. You know, we cried, we hugged, we made up, it was all fine. Was it though? Because from what we've heard, why was Jack playing it down, the first argument, when Kaden said it was Noah that started it with Jack, Noah had the issue with Jack. Was Jack trying to play it down and say, it's not that big of a deal, because Jack was in the wrong for something he did, which was flirting, and maybe more than that, previous with Noah's girlfriend at the time, or ex-girlfriend at the time, whoever. It's worth taking in mind. Sometimes when you are responsible or caught up in something within a conversation, an argument, and it's said privately, then it reaches the public surface level, and the one in question or being called out may say, no, it's fine, everyone, it's fine, everyone. You know, we've resolved this argument anyway, it's okay. Yeah, it's a form of damage limitation. You're trying to play it off cool because you don't want it being revealed public as to what you have done in the moment or previous. It's a defensive method, once again, downplaying it, right? It's just interesting the dynamics here, because it's Noah having the issue with Jack yelling at him, not the other way around from how we all interpreted it early on. It says a lot, doesn't it? But in terms of the final argument Monday, Jack Newton, with time, he neglects it now. In the past, he may have referenced or quoted it, but the Partners in True Crime interview, he made no reference to the argument whatsoever on Monday, and especially it was quite intense and aggressive. And on that occasion, it was the other way around, Jack having it out with Noah. Or could it have been the other way around again? There's always a twist, you never know, but still, an argument taking place. Same theme or patterns as on Saturday, who knows? The theme of girl trouble, maybe in general, and it could have escalated further than it did previous. But because Jack didn't mention it whatsoever, but he brought in a new event with Logan's name being the last person to see Noah walk off, which we only heard a few months ago, never mentioned beforehand. Why only mention it in recent time? Memory loss? Well, you suddenly gained a new memory now. Seems the opposite, doesn't it? So that's just a little bit questionable. You can let me know what you think down below in the comment section and whatnot. I just thought I'd mention it. It wasn't more so downplaying it, but literally glossing over an actual event that took place supposedly. Why do you gloss over it? Mention another shocking or intriguing event never heard or seen before to divert attention elsewhere. The theme, which has been mentioned by Michael Facecast or Justin Roy, diversion, confusion, with the cause of death, aiming it in a different direction, attempts made on purpose by the opposition to steer people in a wrong direction to get them away because they're getting too close to the truth. You can measure that with resistance, of course. If you get threatened, you get attacked, maybe you're getting too close. But before the attacks and threats, a more subtle attempt, a covert sly method maybe, being kind of helpful, being cooperative and saying, you know what, if you just go off in that direction, you might find the truth, but really it's the darker pathway. And maybe a handful of people will go down the wrong path and others go down the dark one, and then they find out eventually. We've seen it in previous cases, whether it was done as a form of misinformation or disinformation. That's a question, isn't it? Misinformation is where you can create or spread incorrect information about stuff within a case. Disinformation is the same thing, but you're doing it with intent to cause harm or damage. Misinformation is more accidental, when you may repost or reshare stuff. People have accused me of that, but once again, it's all under control because I did explain the situations at the time. To be honest, let's not forget, for a brief spell on Reddit and anywhere else, anywhere on Facebook, I'm not too sure, but the Daily Mail article with Tyler Hardy, oh, Warlight Raff should do better. You should do better, Warlight Raff. Stop spreading misinformation. Spreading it? Really? When I was questioning it in the video, bitch, please? Yeah, exactly. And anyway, the time when I looked at that article, it was already updated and most of it was corrected. All under control. Exactly. But some didn't see it that way at the time. So there we go. As we've seen, the odd individual, some with time, have falsely accused, slandered my channel, clickbait, incorrect. They never have proof or evidence to back their points up, really. It's just simply a language barrier with humans who just can't comprehend my advanced wording and terminology in my titles. It's not a me problem, it's them. Look, listen, learn, rethink, and it should make more sense. The titles can link to the thumbnails and vice versa, or the content within the video. Certain keywords are used to express an emotion or an impact because it's relevant. It's as simple as. And I do know that there's a high chance that the people that do whinge and whine, from the Dylan Rounds case to the Noah Presgrove case, who falsely accused my titles and videos of being clickbait, are the same individuals that won't be rounding up every news program, newspapers in local stores, protesting outside saying, misinformation, misinformation, oh, you clickbaiting. They're not going to be doing that, are they? But they'll do it towards me because it's easy to do. But they're not consistent enough to follow up with every news broadcast program media outlet out there, because they can't be arsed. Half-hearted attempts. These key terms, themes, cross over with the case, the community, events within. So I thought I'd just mention that. This collective video as a whole, I wouldn't say it has to all be about the cause of death, but on a wider spectrum. But to refer back to like when we're saying about responsibilities, those responsible directly for the cause of Noah's death or partially playing responsibilities in leading up to Noah's death, maybe making him vulnerable. We've also got to always acknowledge is that you might have underage drinkers at the party, but they're at least of adult age. They should be making their own choices responsibly. And I know you can be lenient and say, well, still young, still a bit naive. And anyway, someone like Noah, he's the victim in all this. Yeah, but still, people made the decision to drink. Yes, the one who was one of the oldest ones, well, not the oldest, but the party host should have their own responsibility to not so much drink responsibly, but distribute it responsibly, and that was broken. So the charge for them to get in trouble with breaking social hosting rules probably should be followed up, and certain Noah Presgrove family members, Dalen Presgrove and some others, believe in it and have signed a petition, and it's been spread online too. Right. Does it directly lead to justice for Noah though? Not quite, unless there's a link to be made with future evidence and it gets others to speak out and talk as like a chain reaction or an indirect one. You never know. We've seen it with the Dylan Rounds case where Brenner got taken in on unrelated gun charges, but whilst he was kept inside, evidence was collected on the current case to pin it to him, which was true. So you see how that can go there. And if people can be kept off the streets or public and locked up, they're not going to be a harm to any other members of the general public, so no one else will die. What we can measure and monitor is, from the looks of it, no one else has died since. You know, no other parties of leading up to deaths. At least from what I'm aware of, unless more secretive things have gone in the background. You can let me know if you're aware of that. But it's just the responsibility part. It goes both ways. The one that buys alcohol and distributes it out has the main responsibility, but then secondary, the ones that choose to drink the alcohol. If you're talking about 14, 13, 15, 16, maybe 17-year-olds, not of adult age, you could say that it's not all their responsibility and fault because they could be pressured into drinking, they could be tricked into drinking, drinks spiked or spiked with alcohol, who knows? Things like that can happen at times, groomed into drinking alcohol. But, you know, you're like 18, 19, 20, and, you know, Noah Presgrove, 19 at the time, Kaden Pressy, 19 or so, and some others around that age, they know what they're doing when drinking. And that's not blaming them, but it's just about accepting responsibility, as in, if, let's say, you were drunk driving, that's because you drank alcohol earlier, made you drunk, and then you decided to think it was a good idea to start driving about. So like just on a small scale event, with the side-by-side rollover, if it's truly true that it did happen, not that it was fatal for Noah, but it still caused some injury, that is technically on Noah, because he was behind the wheel from how it's been worded. And why did he roll it over though? For fun, a prank, or because he was drunk? You got to ask yourself, honestly. Now, personally, I think people should be clipping this video right now. Anybody watching in the background, clip what I'm about to say in just a second. What would have happened if Noah Presgrove had his own vehicle at the party house at a time of when he wanted to leave? You know, when reaching out. He wouldn't have to reach out to people. He wouldn't have to be dependent on others. He would have his own vehicle, like how he did Saturday. He'd be able to drive back to his own place of living. But if Noah Presgrove was clearly incapable of driving that side-by-side and rolled over, just imagine the damage that could have been done to Noah if he had been on the highway driving in his own vehicle. It could have led to the same outcome, death. And no one else would have had to have been responsible or take any action in taking him out. You know what I'm saying? It's a dark way of looking at it, but it's an important point to be made. And it's not just that, but depending, you know, out on the highway and who else is out on the road, Noah Presgrove's recklessness, drunk driving, if he had been driving his own vehicle along the highway, could have endangered other people's lives or even a family in a car. It's always worth taking into mind. Now, we don't fully know the full context behind the side-by-side rollover or the motive behind why Noah got in it, and supposedly passengers too. But it rolled over, I'm guessing because he was drunk. Bad eye-hand coordination, slowed down reactions, maybe a bit disorientated. Now, when he was helped to the shower and kind of assisted there, where he directly washed himself or someone else kind of helped hold him up, is that all because he was disorientated or shocked from the side-by-side rollover, or just because of the lasting effects of being drunk, or a combination? Once again, if there is links to be made there, just imagine how much worse or just as bad as it could have been if Noah was driving back home along the highway. Would he honestly have made it back home safely if he had his own vehicle? Something tells me probably not. So I think it's worth taking into mind that. I know it didn't happen, but if it did, Noah could still have died on that day, unless there was someone responsible watching over Noah and said, no, you probably shouldn't be driving, probably not a good idea, sleep it off, go back home the next day, or better still, I'll drive you home myself. Just alternative ways of looking at it. If I get attacked for that, if any human turns on me for that, well then they're a lost cause, because I'm demonstrating extreme balance right now. Extreme balance on the edge of riskiness, in which I could become a villain at any second just because I've questioned the victim, right? But I'm not just questioning the victim. I can question everyone, everything. I can question myself. Doesn't sound too good, does it? But no, in all seriousness, I can. And I have done in the past, and it's worked. So do the same right now. I want to know your thoughts with what I've just said. Do you agree or disagree? And whilst it didn't happen, it could have. And let's just say if at the end of the day, in reality, that someone or some people are responsible for Noah's death, well, if in an alternative reality, Noah kind of killed himself, but not intentionally, but through drunk driving, it would have meant we would never have known potential killers at hand. So they could still be out there and choose another victim in the future. Just a possibility. But still, nevertheless, if there are people walking free right now, they still have the opportunity to take someone else out. Depending. I mean, let me just mention one thing. If we ever found out it was a pure murder and it was someone from the party house, a party goer, a friend, a contact, whatever, individual or group, would there have been any early warning signs from the past? In the Dylan Rounds case, there were clear early warning signs, but people didn't act on it. When Brenner threatened to kill Dylan's father, and Dylan was present to hear that, and the father was relayed that by the son after. No action taken. Oh, well, he's just an ass. And look what happened in the end. It was the son that got murdered, not the father in the end. So when you look at the Noah Presgrove case, any mention in the past of tension, any mention, experiences which Noah encountered where he had a run-in with Jack or a run-in with anyone else, and a close experience to things escalating, any death threats, any violence, any grudges and whatnot. Oh, it was resolved. Was it really? You know what I'm saying? But something like that, you'd have to look back on previous events, and unfortunately within this case the main focus is the party mainly from nowadays Sunday, Monday. In the past the focus was on what happened Saturday, what happened Sunday. We've transitioned more on Sunday night, Monday morning, but we should look at it as a whole all throughout and not forget previous days. Even the Friday, which Kaden Pressy said he was supposedly there on a Friday, when in the public interview he said he wasn't, or he didn't, well, he said he didn't want to talk about that day. What, because it wasn't relevant, or because it was? Right? You can understand, maybe publicly you can't talk about certain stuff, so you reserve it for the private interviews. And he said he was there Friday. A lot of people have said to me, well, Friday, maybe it's not that significant, maybe we just don't need to look into it. And I kept saying, we need to know. We need to know. There surely has to be a event, even if it's insignificant, what happened on a Friday. You can say the party started Saturday or really kicked off Sunday night, but from what Kaden said, 30, 40 people there Friday, Saturday. Different to how he worded it in the public interview, Sunday, Monday, 30, 40 people present, coming and going. Big contrast. If it truly was 30, 40 people there Friday, the beginning, well then that's closer and more relevant to a crossover with the dove hunt, which occurred Friday and Saturday, right? So that's definitely important to look into. And to not want to talk about it publicly, what did happen then? Because if nothing happened, then there's no harm in just mentioning it, because I'm sure there was some insignificant points mentioned by Kaden when relaying his story, but it was still valuable. The same could be said about Friday's events. Was Friday the beginning of the party, or was it just the setup, planning it? What was talked about on the day? What truly happened on the Friday? Do we need to do a standalone video or what? So, once again, some key questions and points there. Can I round it up now, possibly reach a conclusion? Well, to refer to the theme of fake accounts, because that was also mentioned by Michael Facecast, Justin Roy, and some others. Fake accounts set up. What is a fake account? Well, it's not a genuine account of someone. There is the exception where some people have a default account to protect themselves. It makes it harder for others to trust in that, I know. But some people have default accounts, basic ones, to fully hide their identity or just to minimise the possible damage and crushing that comes with it. The Dylan Rounds case, people on Facebook, partially tied in within the case community, got followed, hounded, harassed, called family members, reached out to, called out, and all kinds of very extreme stuff, unnecessary. You want the same to happen in the Noah Presgrove case? No, if there's opportunities to minimise it, then you would do that, wouldn't you? Or at least try to. So that's what can happen. Other times, fake accounts, more so impersonation accounts, obviously done intentionally to cause harm or disruption. The exception at times for a light-hearted tone. Sometimes it's hard to see that when the situation can be tense, when you're on high alert. I think there's a time and place for certain accounts. Maybe more so occurs on Facebook than it does on YouTube, which is a bit of a surprise. But to be honest, the Noah Presgrove case and community is more heavily focused on Facebook. It's not a bad thing that. YouTube, smaller scale, but less noise, less disruption, at least for now. Sure, some people may go elsewhere, talk behind my back, as I've already witnessed and seen. That's fine. Extensive experience, encounters like that in the past with people. Okay? Like Indiana 59 that did the same exact thing. Where they're now. Bit of a plank, aren't they? Tom Evans kind of did the same thing. Bit of a plank. Where they're now. And others. It's natural selection. Not to the same extreme as what you may think, but just natural selection. You do what you need to do, but if a human is to return back, don't expect to get the red carpet treatment, right? So I think we should probably leave it there. This is just another original Warlight Wrath video, bit of a hybrid with the incorporation of the odd post comment early on at the start of this video. If you did join late, be sure to rewind back to the start. And yes, there was many more comments which I did not read, but you know, timing wise, practicality, don't want to take it away from my own videos and opinions, because I think people want to see more of that now than ever before. And it feels like it's the right time to do so. And it's generating new ideas as we go along. But I do need to value the Kenny Veach case because that's pretty hot at the moment. So be on the lookout for a new Kenny Veach video, possibly tomorrow. And we'll see where that takes off from. So hopefully you found this video somewhat interesting. Be sure to hit the like button, share it to others elsewhere to spread that awareness, the discussions, some questions which may have never been brought up before or not mentioned much at all. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Good night.